Hello everybody, welcome to another video, and it is very dark at the moment. Well, it's a little bit more dark on the camera than it is outside, but it is just gone 5:30 in the morning and I am about to do a relatively big challenge and adventure and pilgrimage today around my home city of Preston. So all around the outside of Preston is what you call the Guild Wheel. So it is a 21-mile walk, and I've got put an extra 3 miles probably on the journey by walking from my house. So overall it's going to be more of a 24 mile journey, and there's not many cars on the road at the moment, only one there, but there's no point talking too much now, it's too dark. But I do want to show you something very interesting right here in Penwortham. So I don't know if you can see this properly, everybody, but I go on about this a lot on my Instagram recently. These are war memorials. Well, this is an old Celtic cross. Now this has been turned into a war memorial, but it's actually marking a sacred spring. Now look at the symbols and the Celtic knot all the way up the centre of the cross here. And it's a Celtic cross because there's a circle, if you can see, that goes around the main cross. So there's 4 sections of this circle. Now Christian crosses just have the cross, whether the Celtic crosses have the circle. So this is always marking springs, and if we look behind it, it's very dark, but we can see, I'll try and put the torch on for you in a second, but you can see a structure that is like covered in like a slate, which is a war memorial, and there's a drain actually on the floor. So I'll put the light on here so I can show you this behind the cross. So as you can see here, this has been turned into a war memorial with a slate. Originally, this wouldn't have the slate. Look how ancient this is. It crumbles. Look at the Celtic symbols, again the spiders all the way around it. Like you can imagine, before the slate was here, it's like an arch, and you can imagine the spring in the middle, and it's proof because right here there's an old drain where the water would have been running just right behind the obelisk or war memorial here. So look, this is all spring system right here, and they're always covered by war memorial slabs. Just take notice of these in your own town. So right in the distance over there is St Walburg's Church. That is the tallest spire in the UK, I think. It might be England. I'll just have to put it at the bottom of the screen after when I look it up. But that is surrounded by old covered up springs as well. And this is the bridge right here that separates Penwortham and Preston. So we've got Preston there, got the River Ribble, which used to be called La Bellissima in the Roman times. And then we've got Penwortham, where I was before, just at the spring, the old spring, sorry, at the war memorial. Now the first stop on the Guild Wheel is this place here, which is called Avenham and Miller Park. So we've got the river right behind me. Now this is a very special place, and it was an even more magical place in the not too distant past. So I've had multiple followers contact me proving that I'm right to do with the spring systems here, saying that not that long ago, I don't know how long ago, but I presume about 60-70 years ago, there was spring fountains everywhere all around this park. Now they only use the spring water for the Japanese garden, which is marked by a huge obelisk, and the fountain, which I'm going to show you in a second over here. Now this is the actual start of the Guild Wheel as well, is this park, and I'm going to show you where the actual spring water is still running from in this park, because it's all underground still, and they are hiding it on purpose. Because I don't know if it was a joke or not, but I was filling up from one of the outlets of the original spring, or what I presume is an outlet, because I was drinking it for 1.5 years and I'm still alive, so I presume it was good spring water. But they told me that that wasn't spring water, and that they know where the original spring is, but they won't tell anybody. Now, is that a joke, or is that purposeful? Like, are they hiding it purposefully from the public? Which I'm not surprised, because of the council here have obviously hidden all of these springs on purpose and shut them all off, just like the rest of the Western world. You know, near enough 90%, I'd say southern France, they still have a lot of the springs running, but I mean the UK has been targeted a lot. Northern France, America, there's so many, pretty much everywhere has been targeted to some level when it comes to the ancient springs, and this is what I go on about all the time. especially on my Instagram. So as we can see here, we've got the old like manor house structure, and there's an obelisk which is, I'm going to zoom in for you just now. There's a statue of a man there, and he will be marking a spring because the obelisk that he stood on will be there before he was built, likely. Maybe not, but even so, these obelisks mark the springs. And obviously this is all straight lines, all straight, perfect, you know, in line with the fountain, which is here, which is shut off at the moment. But that, the council tell me, is actually spring water, and they can turn that on and off. So they'll be still utilising all of the water in this incredible park that nobody has any idea is full of free, mineralised, pure water. So the Pavilion Cafe here is meant to be the exact starting point of the walk where many people grab a drink before. It's not open now, even though the light is on, to be honest, but it is just gone 6 o'clock. And here I'm starting the walk properly after about just over half an hour walk from my house. Now I have cycled this before, but that was about 4 years ago in 2020. And because consciousness advanced, you get more knowledge of the land, especially when you're walking too. You pick up a lot more that you wouldn't have seen cycling, and I wouldn't have seen 4 years ago. So it'll be very interesting. So here we are, 0 out of 21 miles, the Guild Wheel. They are actually reconstructing the old tram bridge across the River Ribble at the moment as well. So that'd be good to have another bridge that goes across here. And this is the dolphin fountain here in Avenham Park. So this was one of the old fountains where people used to get their water from. It's still a bit dark, there's no point filming inside, but this is it. You see the arch again, and there's an actual narrative about it here. And it says some interesting things. So the spring was never meant to run dry, you know, even in severe droughts. And it is so important to know where these springs were, because the ancients would be getting their water from here, but also not so long ago, you know, 80 years ago, maybe even less than that, people were collecting their water from here and seeing how highly mineralised and pure the water was here. And what's extra interesting is that it is still coming out right next to it. So where this rock is here, just next to it, there's an old pipe. And can you see all of this water and dampness here? This never runs dry. Look at that. That is where it's just coming out, just next to it. The spring is there, and it's all wet here, all congregates along here and goes into the river. And I'm going to show you in a second, behind these bushes, it is constantly gushing out. This is why there's a manhole there. Keep an eye out for these old manholes, these drain covers. These all mark the springs and the pathways. So here it is, right behind where I just showed you. This is the pure spring water that never runs dry. Always a constant temperature as well. Good to know that when looking for primary water. I'm 90% sure this could be primary water, never running dry, you know, in history. Look at that. They've covered it over, put a drain here, and then this just goes right into the river behind us. Wasted. Well, not wasted, it goes to nature, but we used to drink from it all the time. And there's another one up here. And this is the other one, just a couple of feet down from the one I just showed you, coming out an old red brick pipe. This never runs dry either. And I spoke to an old man who said that in all his life, 75 years I think it was, he'd never seen this run dry. So the River Ribble here in the Roman times used to be called La Bellissima. In Italian means the beautiful river. Now, the colour of it today, I don't know how it got that name, but it obviously wasn't like that in the past, and it was treated with the respect it deserves, as all rivers and water sources should be, because it's the rivers and the water sources that are cleansing and healing the planet and the realm. So I always prefer to say realm than planet, because we live in a realm amongst realms. It's my belief. So yeah, it's so important to pay offerings, to visit, to clean, and just to acknowledge and honour the sacredness of water sources, the sea, the river, the streams, the springs. They're all connected and they all meet in the sea as one. Beautiful. So right now I'm at Broughton Nature Reserve, and as much as the scenery is very nice, you can't really see it in this light, but I'll show you in a second, the noise from the motorway is horrendous, and there's always a constant droning noise all the way through the walk so far. But the scenery nevertheless is really nice, and I never really explored this Broughton area before, so we're just going to stick to the path and enjoy the views that we've got. I've got an interesting place for breakfast. I've got a bench in between two standing stones. You know, I think it's so important to get to know the place where you are from to a great depth. You know, if you have spent a lot of time there, you need to know the land, you need to know the history, the true history, I mean, you know, where the springs and the rivers and what plants are growing. There's so many people, and I've fallen for it as well in the past, obviously, that we only think that we need to travel far and wide to find ourselves and to get a travelling experience. But first, before you go elsewhere and do, for example, pilgrimages or trips elsewhere, make sure you do something in your own area and see it in a different way than you did before, and find things out just that's right on your doorstep, and then do the pilgrimages elsewhere. And it's similar to when people look for spiritual wisdom in other traditions, and us as a British culture, we have lost our true spiritual ancestry that we had in the original Albion, in the lands of Albion, which was the true name for Britain. That's why I call my channel after Albion. And so this is so important to understand the true spiritual traditions of our ancestors, what traditions, what beliefs, what knowledge and how we used to live is so important. But we need to realise that we once had our own indigenous cultures that were also wiped out, and the knowledge of them indigenous cultures that were rooted to the land, in community, in ancient wisdom, knowing the plants, knowing the waters, the standing stones, the mounds, the ancient roads. These weren't built by the Romans. These came after just to finish them off. These were started by the original ancestors of this country, and this is what we've forgotten, and this is what we're trying to remember. The people that are truly connected to the lands of Albion are remembering. It's a powerful time to be alive, and it's a powerful time for this land, the lands of Albion. Some say the heart of the world. But for those that didn't know, Preston, it was originally called Priest Town, because, in my opinion, it's because of the high concentration of springs, and this is why the priests, the churches, the cathedrals, and all these buildings came about because of the springs. And this is what I've found now in my years of research. So Preston was originally a very, very important focal point in Lancashire, and Penwitham, the village that I started this journey at, was originally the oldest parish in the whole of Lancashire County. So it was a guy called Peter Rimmer who was the architect of the Guild Wheel. It says the Guild Wheel cycle route opened in 2012, making a reality of Peter's idea to establish a 21-mile, safe, attractive greenway around the city of Preston. So I've just had a slight detour to come and see this church here towards Broughton. Okay everybody, so once again here in Broughton, we have got the Celtic cross, and behind it would be once where the spring would have been. As you can see, like they always do, turn it into the war memorial and give us a fake narrative. Obviously these events happened, but this is not what these were built for. These were already here. Absolutely crazy, isn't it? It just shows all of this purposeful corruption. Why hide the springs? It's because the springs are life. We need the pure waters, the living waters, not just for our own health, but like I always say, it shifts the consciousness of the whole realm. And at the moment they are all underneath us, underneath our feet as we walk and drive past every day. If anybody is interested in the evidence I've got with these war memorials and springs, then just check out my Instagram, which is the Age of Albion. Our link, that link in my bio as well, in the description, sorry, of this video. All of these were springs. Keep an eye out yourself in your own village and town, cities. I must be covering so many miles because I've been back and forth because the signs were absolutely awful at one point, and I was walking up the dual carriageway for ages, and then I realised that there's no more signs, so I had to use Google Maps to try and get back on track. And now I can't find which way is the loop that I was going or the loop back. So I've been going up and down and it's mental. The signs at times are really bad, to be honest. So I have got 7 miles remaining of the Guild Wheel walk. I've found my way again and had a good lunch, and we are on track again. It's not been my favourite walk I've ever done by far. You know, I've done much better walks, but this will be the longest walk I've done, and I want to continue doing these longer walks because I really want to do a lot more of these challenges, but I want to be doing it really in the proper wilderness, the proper pilgrimages. Well, this is practice. Again, my own area first before I do longer walks elsewhere. So, well, there's been good bits. There's been good bits in the forest, the river, and you know, we've seen a lot of ancient trees. So, but it's just a little bit too much noise. Well, a lot too much noise, and too many bits through residential estates, new build residential estates like this all the time. So many new builds going up in Preston.